noon when game day wrapped up, and I thought the South Carolina fan base had put its best foot forward. I thought everything was spectacular. And maybe in a way, Preston, for those outside of Columbia that wear garnet and black, for those that do not wear garnet and black, for everybody outside, it was the perfect scenario because if you weren't a South Carolina fan, and I say that because LSU won, but if you weren't a South Carolina fan, that was a phenomenal game on Saturday to tune into and be watching on a day where there was football on, and we shouldn't take those for granted. We don't get a ton of, we only get 14 college football Saturdays, but there was without a doubt it was the best game of the weekend, right? By far. Football, period. NFL, everybody included. We unfortunately were on the short end of the stick of the excitement and all the great parts, but it was the best game of the weekend, I think, hands down. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It stinks. It sucks, and we will talk about it this morning, whether it was the phenomenal atmosphere in there where even the announcers were talking about the decibel levels that were taking place, whether it was game day outside and Pat McAfee having free reign to say certain words. Yeah, if you couldn't see that one coming from a mile away, I'm sure when he got the producer's notes and he was like, they're the whats? They do what? Yeah. Oh, man, that was 1,000% on brand for McAfee. So, yeah, it was perfect for him, for sure. I can't say I ever watched the Pat McAfee show. I did watch it a little bit on Friday. I will definitely tune in today. It's a good show. He is all out. I enjoy him. They're like us. They get a little. I forget what path he and AJ Hawk went down on Friday. That was just kind of rambling, and they were on to something else. But it's fine. I have no problem with it. I will definitely watch today to see if he's got a little bit of a recap of his experience here in Columbia, South Carolina. But I know he had a blast. Preston, I'll start with this. The game day setup there in Gamecock Park looked absolutely phenomenal on television. It was beautiful. Beautiful, man. It's like I said on Friday, it was just a really cool opportunity to showcase the town, the Gamecock Park, the stadium, the students. They were awesome. They showed up and showed out. They did everything that they could. So it was really cool to see it on TV. And my phone was buzzing all weekend from various parts of SEC land and people that I know around, like, man, y'all are really showing out. So a lot of people definitely took notice this weekend. So we'll get into that. Well, obviously, we'll talk about that. Was the really good of the weekend. There was other good, maybe not really good, but there were other things such as referees. Now, I don't want to dwell too much on the referees, but that is a discussion point for this morning, Preston Thorn, because you do have to acknowledge that was there was some key calls. We'll just say that key calls that did not go South Carolina's way. You can't get around it. You can't discuss this game without discussing the impact of refereeing and the calls that were made and the things that happened throughout the game. So yeah, there's no way you cannot discuss it. I have a stance that I traditionally take. We'll talk about that. But if we was just to say that there was no factor, that would be a lie. Now, we don't ever want to do that here. So that is part of the discussion. We'll get into that a little bit. And then also just game thoughts. In a really interesting game, I've got I don't know how to label it. I wanted to do a segment. Was it fact or fiction? I labeled it, but did we last night? We'll talk about, was the running game good? Did we slow down Garrett Nussmeier? Did South Carolina get conservative with Robbie Ashford when he entered the game? And we'll get into all three of those things coming up in the next segment. I put him in there knowing Preston would see him. I did not discuss this with him last night as to what he thinks about those three things in particular, and I'm interested to see what he's got to say. I got my thoughts as well. We'll certainly get your thoughts this morning as well. 803-404-6100 if you want to get up and weigh in. As here in the Midlands, I believe it is time to kind of buckle down for some weather starting late this afternoon, and we'll let Jen tell you about that as we go through the day. Let's get out to the phone lines, though, to get the morning started. Andrew wants to weigh in first. Andrew, how you doing? What's on your mind?
First of all, thank y'all for getting up so early. I'm not usually up this early, so mad respect for you guys to be up at this time talking football. That's amazing. A couple thoughts on the game. I'm glad that it's Monday. I would not have been able to talk about this at all Saturday, even yesterday. So as time goes on, I'm able to cope with it and come in for some morning therapy. Let me be very clear, in my opinion, the referees did not cause the 17-point lead to evaporate. I always come from the mindset of you should never be in a position to lose a game because of referees. You want to dominate the game so much so that they're not the decision-making factor. However, all that being said, there is no doubt in my mind that we should have won that game. Unless if I do not, and the only one that I can really look at just from the clips that I've seen was the late 100-yard return for the touchdown by Imanwari, and I believe I forget the defensive end that hit the quarterback. I was always under the hello.
We got you. Go ahead. You're good.
Can you hear me? Okay. I was always under the impression that the quarterback at that point in time is free game. Now, was the shot rough? Yeah, but it's football, right? I mean, he didn't hit him in the head, so how in the world they make that call? And then the horse collar one, I know that was earlier on in the game, but that to me, if you're grabbing jersey around the shoulder area, that I didn't know that to be horse collar. I thought you had to have your hand kind of up there by the neck and literally pull them down. So anyways, that was just my thoughts on the refs, but I couldn't be more proud of how the team played. LSU is a very good football team, and I think this one was kind of slipped away. So those are my thoughts. Appreciate you, gentlemen. Have a fantastic day.
You too, Andrew.
Appreciate you joining us. Don't take a nap for the rest of the day. Now you got to stay up with us.
Welcome to the six.
I'm driving.
There you go. So we'll be here, man. Hopefully we can keep you company.
Yeah. We'll get you through the morning there, buddy.
Perfect.
Travel safely there.
Thank you.
This morning, 803-404-6100. Let's get back to the phone lines. Joe wants to weigh in this morning. Joe, how you doing? What's on your mind?
Hey, man, I'm good, man. Good morning, guys. Appreciate the show, man. I love listening to you all. Man, I was at the game, 5:45, tailgating, ready to watch the game, man, and I'm proud of what I saw. The refs is another story. It is what it is. My thing is that I hope that these guys have a feeling in their chest that they don't want to feel again, so they correct the things that they did wrong that caused them to lose that 17-point deficit. It is what it is, man. I'm proud of my Gamecocks. I'm happy to be a Gamecock. And I'm just ready to see how they respond to what happened last Saturday, these next 2 weeks, and for the rest of the season. Go Gamecocks. Love listening to the show. Have a great day, guys.
Thank you for the phone call, Joe. Go ahead.
Appreciate you, Joe. That's an interesting feeling because I did have that same feeling pregame. Even post-game, the game is whatever, but watching game day, showing all the sights, I had an overwhelming sense of pride. Like, that's my place. That's my school. It was really a proud moment seeing our culture on display. So that wasn't an emotion I identified with. And I was happy with the way the team played also.
Yeah, we'll get into a lot of that. I want to bring up some key topics that I thought about. I know you've got stuff that you analyzed and that you want to get into, and certainly a lot of y'all have some thoughts and feelings as to what you saw throughout the morning as well, or throughout the Saturday. Great. It really was, if you remove yourself from being a fan, it really was a great back-and-forth game. Explosive plays, sloppy plays, controversial plays. There's a lot in that game. That is why we love college football. Unfortunately, for a lot of us listening this morning, we are South Carolina fans, and we're now 2-1. We're now 2-1 and not 3-0, which I agree with Joe. They should have been, and we'll explain some of that. We'll get into some of that. But did we is a segment I want to throw at Preston.
I like it.
On from Saturday, and I will ask that. We'll talk about it here, and I want to get his thoughts on it, get yours as well. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. Get up and get going. It's a Monday morning on the early game. Bill Gunner for Jacob Crowder, the mortgage guru, and First Palmetto Bank. And as we roll into the back half of the year, can you believe we are halfway through September now? It might have you thinking about options to purchase a home, build a home, or maybe even refinance. And at First Palmetto Bank, they know how to help you, especially the mortgage guru, Jacob Crowder. He helped me just several years ago get into the condo on the lake, get a great interest rate, a great thing for me, and he can do the exact same thing for you, especially if you are living out or want to live out in Richland County, Blythewood, Northeast, Southeast, or the I-20 corridor. They are offering right now a 4.99% interest with a 5.075 APR on a 30-year fixed mortgage. It's called the Community Reinvestment Product. For more information, you need to call Jacob Crowder today, 803-719-1005. Again, that's 803-719-1005. Call Jacob Crowder, the mortgage guru, today. Tell him Bill Gunner sent you.
Doesn't appear that we have any accidents at this time, and we hope it stays that way. We are going to see some tropical showers and wind gusts coming in, especially this afternoon. A high of about 76. Overnight low of 65. Tomorrow, a couple showers, 80 for the high, up to 87 by Wednesday. But hopefully the rain will be out of here maybe by Wednesday as well. Right now, 72, a couple scattered showers on the early game.
6:17 here on your Monday morning. Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen, as we get up and get going and roll along on what will be a rainy Monday and Tuesday and get ready for Akron. And real quick, I'll come back to this later in the week, but Preston, I don't know if you saw, because we talked about how South Carolina will now adjust after that game. We'll get into that later, but Gamecocks opening up last night, 27.5, 28-point favorites on Saturday. Initial thought, take Akron.
Yes. Agreed.
Initial thought is take not that I think Akron will win the game. It's just I'll be interested to see how South kind of rebounds
And the under.
That's actually I kind of with you on that. I want to remind you September is Hunger Action Month. The Gamecocks, the game and the Hardees are teaming up for the Hardees Roundup. Just go to your participating Hardees and round up your bill to the nearest dollar amount. All donations go to the Harvest Hope Food Bank for students. So Saturday, I think there's a lot of takeaways. I think we're all trying to kind of figure out what exactly happened there. It's almost like you got thrown in the dryer on the spin cycle, the whatever, and you come out and you're like, what just occurred? Because there was a lot of things, good, bad, great, ugly. You can go through all of them. In the end, unfortunately, South Carolina loses 36-33, Preston. But there's a couple things that I kind of wondered about in this game that, okay, did we actually do what we thought we did? And I'll start here with you at the very beginning, and I'll ask you, how did you assess the run game in this situation? 41 carries, 243 yards.
The run game is still subpar. The run game is still subpar. We're still not able to control the line of scrimmage. Obviously, there were two huge plays in the run game, which I think were generally created by two pretty phenomenal athletes. But I don't think we can say that we have a reliable run game right now.
So that's interesting because I was very interested to see where you would go with that in terms of what occurred with the run game. Because as we just said, 41 carries, 243 yards, but 141 yards came on two particular carries, as you just pointed out. There was 39 carries for 102 yards. So two carries, 141 yards. 2 carries, 141 yards, 39 carries for 102 yards. That's a 2.6 yard average. So I'm trying to decipher kind of what that means. Like, does that mean you've got explosive guys and you're setting them up for big plays? Or does that mean there needs to be more consistency with getting, I'd say, to 3.5 yards per carry?
Yeah, I mean, it's however you choose to look at it, glass half full, half empty, whatever you want to do. I think we now have the benefit of having explosiveness, which we didn't have last year. Obviously, we keep coming back to this. So our boy Spence was never going to make that type of run. That was not going to happen.
Right.
Nor were any of Mario had a few long ones, but he never finished. Remember, he would always get kind of walked down at the end. So you rather have those guys who are explosive, but you rather not rely on them having to be explosive. You would want them to be able to get more yards on a consistent basis, and that might help you in situations where you need to run the ball, and we weren't able to get that done.
That's a great point because, you look at this team going forward, and there were some really good offensive plays on Saturday. Obviously, the North Sellers run, they're up the gut for the long touchdown run. Rocket Sanders had 143 yards rushing and was really good on Saturday.
And if I want to get nitpicky on that play, that was pretty much all Rocket. He hit front side, cuts backside, and makes a play happen. It wasn't as if there was a huge hole that was created for him. That was essentially him making a play, which is what you want out of that position, but you can't say that one's credited. You know what I'm saying? So, yes, I would say those are more individual efforts. Obviously, you want them, but you would want more consistency.
Really, again, now let me go back to this. Did you think that there was a step forward from the Kentucky game in terms of the run game and what they were doing and maybe even freeing up Lenoris and Rocket Sanders and to an extent Robbie Ashford? Because that's the next part of how is that run game.
I can't go that far. I cannot say that.
Okay.
I can't say that. I would love to see what maybe the LSU defense folks are saying, because I'm sure there's two really simple fixes for those explosive plays. So I can't say that yet.
I'm with you. I think that this is a good week. This one now, for those wondering, at least last night with Shane Beamer, Lenore Sellers does have a sprained ankle, as he said. Did not sound like it was awful, but then again, with Beamer and with injuries, I'll just say that, as he said last night, they lost T.J. Sanders to a foot. I don't know if that means a foot kicked him. I don't know if his foot disappeared. I know what he means. It was a foot injury. It's just the way that's become the new way of defining injuries in college football.
He's got a leg.
He's got a foot. He's got a leg. There's a knee in there. But Lenore Sellers, at least as of last night, there was no word on whether or not he would play against Akron. I'll be honest, as this game was playing out, and I thought Sacramento might win, and Lenore Sellers was not there, I was thinking, man, this is kind of perfect. If you can get out of this thing and win, you got Akron. You should be able to get by Akron with Robbie Ashford, and then you have the bye week before Mississippi. You can get Lenore Sellers back and kind of go. But at least right now, we do not know what his availability will be for this coming Saturday. So we're keeping an ear out on that all week. Obviously, Shane Beamer set to talk tomorrow at 1 o'clock. So let's go to the next. But did we? Did we slow down Garrett Nussmeier?
Mr. Garrett, I'd like to formally make an apology. I was not familiar with your game, sir. You are a pretty good SEC quarterback. He's solid. He's a good quarterback.
Garrett Nussmeier has started 4 games in his career, including Saturday.
He's good.
Lowest completion percentage for him in any of the 4 games he started, 24 of 40. Fewest yards he's thrown for in those 4 games. So actually, the first game he has not thrown for 300 yards, 285 yards. There's a part of me that, they slowed him down enough. I mean, look, as you said, he's a good quarterback, and he made some big-time throws.
And that's it. The stats, the overall statistics probably weren't great, but when he needed to make the throw, he pretty much made it.
That was the big thing that I took away is, when there needed to be a big throw, he made it. There was a couple there to obviously Kyron Lacey, the big one down there at the very end of the game. 5 catches, 63 yards for Kyron Lacey. Aaron Anderson had 5 catches for 96 yards. And the tight end, those were the 3 guys we highlighted. Mason Taylor, 6 catches, 53 yards, and, of course, the touchdown there at the very end. So, yes, there was an apology there.
I have to apologize while also saying last night was the Emmy Awards also.
Okay.
He deserves one of those, too. He deserves for best performance in a pick 6.
Yeah, we'll get to the ref stuff. That's still, but
yeah, he's solid, man. He's a very solid, steady SEC quarterback.
He'll get them far. Their defense has still got a lot to be to work on. That brings us to another one. Did we get conservative with Robbie Ashford when he entered the game?
I don't know. Because I don't know how good Robbie Ashford is. So I don't know if we got conservative or if we just could only do what we were able to do, if that makes sense. And I don't know what the answer is to that. I would say, yes, the play calling didn't look like we were trying to do so many things, but I don't know if we can. I would assume they know better than we do.
Look, Robbie Ashford is not in his 4th start. He's not in his 4th career game. Robbie Ashford has a lot of college football. As they say, the proof is in the pudding on that one. Robbie Ashford is a career, 277 career thrown passes, a 50% passer.
Right.
I'm 5'6". I was 5'6" in high school. You can't make me a center because I'm not. You can't make right. They didn't go conservative. And if you want to, I saw this on social media next. Go, well, then, why is he here? What is he? Look, we knew, and this was discussed. This is not some secret. They had a hard time in the quarterback transfer portal because of what was known about, what was thought to be known, or however you want to word it, about Lenore Sellers. And it was kind of a foregone conclusion, good or bad, that certain quarterbacks like KJ Jefferson and Malik Murphy. KJ Jefferson of Central Florida, great comeback, by the way, on Saturday over TCU. And Malik Murphy at Duke basically said, look, I'm the starting quarterback, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts. And that's not how you can run your football program. And I do think the one person who understands that for good or bad is Dabo Swinney, who basically says, look, you're going to come into this program, you're going to compete. And a lot of transfers don't have that mentality or mindset. They're coming in to start because it's maybe their final chance, or they're leaving a program where they were already sitting out. That did make it difficult. And I don't know how to word that one and go back to that experience, but Robbie Ashford is who he is. And in his career, which he's had plenty of starts and has played plenty, again, He was a 49.2% passer in 2022 when he threw 250 passes. Last year, he was a 51.9% passer when he threw 27 passes. In his career, he has 9 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. They did what they had to do with Robbie Ashford. That's who he is.
That's fair. I guess the counterpoint would be, can we at least see some of that 50%? Can we throw a 50-50 ball and
you know what
see
he
if
was
he can
passing
make a play?
Saturday?
Was he 50%?
2 of 4.
Mr. 50-50. That's it.
It was 2 of 4.
That's good.
And
okay.
I feel like the final drive, if I'm remembering correctly, the final drive, there was nothing better. He stepped up in the pocket, bang, nailed Vandrevius Jacobs down the middle, ran for a long time, got him in. I think it was the next pass. He one-hopped one. I believe it was to Mazio Ben or whatever. I mean,
that's what it is.
And he threw. Look, I got it. He threw a dime that got called back to Delvon Campbell. Mm-hmm. He threw some other passes that they got one that basically was a fumble because he held it too long. I don't know with Robbie Ashford. Maybe it's great. Maybe it's bad. And that's the definition of 50-50.
Yeah. 50, hindsight is 50-50. I remember somebody said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so, man. Oh, that was Bill. That was Bill.
Yeah.
Hindsight,
We had it in some openings.
hindsight on the play calling is 50-50.
50-50. Could have worked, couldn't it? I don't know. We called it. Maybe it worked. Maybe it'll work. I don't know.
I mean, well, obviously we're here all week, so we're not going to get into, next week's game. But I wonder, maybe. So are you saying that vindicates the play calling? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I have no problem with it, man. They didn't go conservative. They did what your quarterback allowed them to do.
Okay.
Like you can't have a quarterback. You can't do that. That's not. If you're a 50-50 thrower and look, Stockton was trying to make a play or two in the run game. They got one out of Rocket Sanders to win the game. And then you're really asking what we know to be the strength of the team, your defense, to stand up and make some plays. And we'll get more into that. As we roll along this morning. 803-404-6100. You're listening to the early game. Bill Gunner for Love Chevrolet, I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park, where right now, once again, the deals continue to roll on. It is the Fall Spectacular, and you need to get over there and check out that incredible line of Love Chevrolets. All 14 acres are covered right now and waiting for you to get over there and check them out and find that incredible deal that you have been looking for to find that brand new car, truck, or SUV. So get out to Love Chevrolet. Again, I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. Let them show you around those 14 acres, explain to you why the make, model, whatever you're looking for is exactly the perfect fit for you and your family, and then let them show you the absolute best deal in town. Call the $1,000 low price guarantee, which means you can shop other dealerships, take their deal to the folks at Love Chevrolet, and they will top it, or they'll write you a check for $1,000. Hasn't happened yet, won't happen anytime soon. Get out to Love Chevrolet today, and together, let's drive.
And taking a peek at those traffic conditions out there this morning, we do have an accident I-20 eastbound at I-26 where the right lane is currently blocked. And as far as your forecast goes, that tropical cyclone, I guess, giving us a little bit of wind and rain today and a few showers tomorrow. 76 for the high today with those tropical showers and winds coming in maybe a little bit later on today. Tomorrow, high of 80 with a few showers. That clears off. 87 for the high on Wednesday, 87 on Thursday before maybe some showers again on Friday. Right now, it is 72, kind of breezy out there on the early game.
Okay. 6:35 as we get you up and get you going here on your Monday morning. As you just heard Jen say, a Monday morning it's going to be kind of wet and wild out there, windy, so try and be careful as you get up, get everyone to school, get yourself to work. We're here for you. If you want to weigh in on anything, 803-404-6100. Want to remind you to get your craft beer card. You can spend $30 at 12 different craft beer locations. That's a $360 value for only $79. Go to 1075thegame.com and click on the Sweet Deals tab on our website. Only a few craft beer cards left, and you can get one. A $360 value for only $79. Go to 1075thegame.com and click on Sweet Deals. Talking a lot this morning, obviously. South Carolina drops a 36-33 decision on Saturday, and we'll continue on to that. Let's get back out to the phone lines this morning as Lamont wants to weigh in this morning regarding the play caller. Lamont, how you doing? What's on your mind?
I'm all right, fellas. How are you guys doing?
Good.
And Miss Jen?
Yeah. We got you. Go ahead.
So I just wanted to point out a couple of things, man. It was exciting to watch the Gamecocks this Saturday. You know, they were oozing with potential, extreme effort. They got so many weapons. I kind of got to put this on the coaching staff. You know, as a fan and a former player, you know, I just felt like the adjustments were subpar, and I would really like to see them add some options and really work those athletic quarterbacks they have. That's all I got to point out, and thank you, guys.
Yeah, appreciate the phone call.
Appreciate you calling.
Let's stay on the phone lines. Vern wants to weigh in on the officiating. Vern, how you doing? What's on your mind?
Good morning. And stuff and things like that. Just the worst crime ever been committed on this planet Saturday against a University of South Carolina football team. And what really got me and stuff and things like that, Shane Beamer didn't stand up for his players. All them guys on defense, they need to put the name in the transfer portal. All of them. They played with their heart, soul, and everything. And they got cheated like that by that Klansman with that white hat on because Kelly was telling them what to call. Every time he made a bad call against Carolina, he went to the sideline where Brian Kelly was. And I know what I saw. You saw the same thing, too. Because this don't make no sense. Carolina, a better team. And y'all talk about how good LSU offensive line is. Only thing they're good at doing is holding. Those two pick sixes called and stuff and things like that, a child don't have to even know the rules of football and know that was wrong. And Boogie McFarland, he's running his mouth and stuff and things like that. If he depending on LSU to win a championship, they won't win in no time with Brian Kelly, the head coach. You all be blessed.
Then there's that phone call, 803-404-6100. Let's not make anybody follow that for a second. and we got some numbers from the weekend. One in particular I'm really interested to hear because you're a defensive lineman on this. Let's start with you. Where do you want to go with numbers?
17.
Okay.
17 nothing, 17-0. And I want to make sure, and this might even go back to did we. One of the common themes I heard people say is that we wasted away, lost a 17-point lead. And I don't ever look at games like that. You know, I bring it in here as a gag, as a joke all the time about the Pete Carroll. You know, can you win a game in the first quarter? Can you win a game No, you can't win a game until the fourth quarter. There really is no such thing as a 17-point or any point lead in the first quarter, because this game is going to be played for 4 quarters. That's why Vegas does the over-unders. It's going to be played to about a certain score. Nobody in their right mind thought they're just going to shut LSU out, right? This game was it doesn't matter when you score the points. It's the amount of points you score. And so the game, the way that I watch games is this doesn't matter until the fourth quarter. You know, 17 is not that big of a lead, because you know LSU being a solid team, Brian Kelly being a good coach, they're going to score points. And so I just want to throw that out there as a shift in perspective, not thinking that we wasted or lost or blew a 17-point lead, because that lead the game was always going to be closer in some forms or fashion. So that's my thing about that 17-point lead that we jumped out to early. Yes, it was great to have it early. That helped momentum. That probably helped carry us through. But the game was always going to be played in our upper range, and we were never going to shut a team like that out.
Yeah, I mean, I was shocked the way South Carolina came out the gate. But then again, I think you had to kind of expect that, knowing the energy and enthusiasm that the fan base was going to have early on in the game. And not that LSU's never been in an environment like that, but I thought it would still take them a little by surprise, and it did. It did. And then when Nussmeier settled down and LSU settled down, they were able to start finding some issues with the defense. 38 snaps, no stats, no tackles for loss, no tackles, no sacks. This is freshman Dylan Stewart's numbers on Saturday. Now, you're a defensive lineman, and I understand defensive linemen can do and impact the game in a lot of different ways that there's not a statistical category for. However, with Stewart, did we expect more? Did he run in? Was he a 19-year-old? I don't think any of us knew it was his birthday on Saturday. Was this to be expected with him going against a grown man at both right and left tackle, wherever he lined up?
He found out. He's like, oh, this is what college football is about.
Both of those guys are expected to be top 15 picks.
This is what college football is about. He's been playing against guys who were subpar tackles, and he did what he's supposed to do to him. And I think he found out on Saturday, like, it's not that easy all the time. Now, again, these dudes are first-round picks, so he probably won't face anybody else. He's faced the two extremes. I think the Kentucky tackle was probably the worst in the SEC, and these two are probably
except for how he played Saturday night.
Well, he gave up the last sack.
That's true, too.
These guys are the best. So he's finding some middle ground. I think he just saw what he did. But he played fine for a freshman. It wasn't as if he was a disadvantage out there. It wasn't a liability.
Right.
He just didn't make the plays that we had seen him make the 2 previous weeks.
But again, that's a situation where you need your 5 stars to step up and make 1 or 2 plays. And again, I'm not saying he didn't play a bad game. I'll be interested to see the PFF
I would too.
Tomorrow when you get those. But that's a game. Look, you're a 5-star. You got to make a play. You got to do something where you impact the box score a little bit, and he will at some point.
He will. Yeah,
he's going to learn for the. You're right.
He learned. He's like, ooh. Again, you talked about on Fridays. He got that punch. He's like, oh,
yeah.
That's what that is. Huh.
So we'll see. Next number for you.
My next number is 4 for the fumbles.
Yeah.
Too many fumbles. We lost 2 of them. Still had 4 of them. We know turnovers are, and that's not to mention the amount of total turnovers, but just dropping the ball and not protecting the ball. When you don't have an offense who has proven themselves to be very efficient, being able to score a lot of points, every possession counts.
Last one here, and then we'll take a break, come back to the phone lines, and I'm going to combine both of mine here. I think the good 50. Snap count for Mazeo Bennett. It appears he is the guy that they are going to push to be wide receiver 1, that they want to come in and now be wide receiver 1. He got 50 snaps on Saturday. He got some targets. Obviously, you look at his, I mentioned box scores. You look at what he did in terms of receiving yesterday on Saturday. One catch, 7 yards. But 50 snaps. Now, part of that, Jared Brown went out with a hamstring, and as Shane Beamer said, that set him back. The other number real quick, 29. That was Vandrevius Jacobs. I think you got to get him more snaps. I think it's become clear to me. People can have their own opinion. It's Bennett, it's Brown, and it's Jacobs. Dalvon Campbell, the bigger wide receiver, did get 38 snaps for running purposes as he can get out there and block a little bit and did have a nice block on one of the big runs. But 29 snaps for Vandrevius Jacobs. I think you got to get him more snaps. I like Bennett. I really like Jacobs. I really like Jared Brown. Those three seem to be the three, to me, that are really stepping up. And as we go into the final game of September this weekend and then look ahead to those big three in October, I think those are the three guys you're looking at. We'll talk more about that and get a little bit into the refs, get back to the phone lines as well. You're listening to Bill Gunner, Preston Thorne, Jen Jensen. It's the early game.
Preston here for our folks at Buford Lending. It's time to get your mortgage ready. What do you need to do? You need to call the folks at Buford, Ben Getty at Buford Lending. Are you looking for VA, FHA, or USDA government loans? Well, the folks at Buford Lending are loan experts, and they offer competitive jumbo financing as well as conventional and construction lending. Benji and his team have helped over 8,000 families experience the dream of homeownership. So they offer the widest variety of government mortgage programs and the best mortgage experience for clients through their state-of-the-art technology and record low interest rates. Their goal is to make your next mortgage experience in closing easier, cheaper, faster, and friendlier. So today, shop your rate with Buford Lending and call 843-524-2404. That's 843-524-2404.
Tonight, right here, 107.5 The Game, we will have the Monday Night Football, 7:30. Falcons and Eagles, 7:30 will be the start of the pregame for that, so you can tune in tonight and catch that as the Kirk Cousin-led Falcons take on the Eagles.
It appears I might be ready to offer another apology. I'm going to hold off for another week.
Oh, okay.
But Skull, am I back on the Vikings train?
Are you jumping back on now?
Sam, I know I gave you a lot of grief over the offseason, but Sam Darnold appears to be playing pretty well. I'm not ready to offer a formal apology yet, but he's playing pretty well.
803-404-6100 if you want to text in this morning, or if you want to call in as you listen on the 107.5 of The Game app. All right, Preston, you have played the college football game. You understand officiating affecting a game. I'm thinking, I don't know, I know it was your true freshman year that the team went up to Clemson, and there was a very questionable shove by Rod Gardner that led to a catch, that led to a field goal, that led to a loss for South Carolina. I'm sure there have been other games in your lifetime where you've looked around and wondered if the official was wearing the other team's colors or dining with them at the dining hall prior to the game. What is your take on this game and officials?
Yeah, man, listen. You just said it led to this. The big takeaway, and this is the only way you can look at it if you want to remain sane, is that officiating cause your team to lose a game. That's the only way that you can view because if you was to get into this, then you could probably look at every game and probably try and find something that the officials did or didn't do that is against your team. So my stance that I've always taken, that I've tried to take, and I think we've kind of learned that through Coach Holtz and through our time as I was a coach, is that we're never going to blame the officials for something that happens on the field, because one play does not make you win or lose a game. Now, it does affect the game, obviously, and I think some of these calls were completely questionable. But I'm not going to make the jump from the official made a bad call to he's in bed with the other team. Mm-hmm. That's a totally different jump. And I don't like how we just so quickly get to, he's got to be in some sort of cahoots with there is a possibility that, what's the phrase? Don't mistake whatever malice for incompetence. He might just be a bad official. It doesn't necessarily mean he's in bed with the other team or there's some sort of conspiracy going on against. We don't need to jump that far. Was it a questionable call? Yes. Or some of them probably calls that I wouldn't have made? Yes. Would Preston Thorn have probably gotten a helmet sticker for what Kyle Kennard did way back in 2004? Probably. If coaches would have gave me a pat on the back and gave me a Snickers bar. That's not the game that we're playing now. My stance is always we cannot blame the officials for a loss when we just laid out several other reasons and other opportunities that the teams had to make plans. Does that mean that the officials were great? No, it does not. That's not what it means. In order to stay sane, though, you cannot blame the referees.
So in this, there are few times I would ever do this. Number one, I think that the officials were not as bad as some people are making them out to be. But when we make the statement, officials, you don't let one play decide the game, or however you want to word it, the officials in this game, 2 plays decided were a big deciding factor of this game. Obviously, the Nick Eamon-Worry, whatever you want to call it, however they want to define it, call it. You know, there's a couple things. I guess to the letter of the law, maybe that is a penalty. I don't know on that one. I'll give you an example. The horse collar penalty is legitimate. They've changed it. I find it wildly hilarious that on the footballfoundation.org rules page, the picture, as you can see, describing some of the changes, has an LSU player in it.
There's some irony there.
But to the letter of the law, to the rule, the horse collar penalty that negated the very first pick 6 for South Carolina was legitimate. And they brought the announcer on, and he talked about it, and I've read about it. That one was legitimate. The two, however, that seems a little bit different, that makes it 40-29. That's ball game.
Changes the complexion.
That's ball game. The other one, I would be very interested if Shane Beamer or anybody down there would be willing to share what information they get back on the penalty that I believe they called on Mazeo Bennett. Might have been on Nick Harbor, and they messed up the mistake.
They messed up the number. I think they called it on Nick. I think they were supposed to be calling it on Nick.
Which, by the way, happened a couple times. They messed up the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Whether the penalty was legitimate or not, the officials couldn't ever seem to get the number, which left Herb Street and Fowler constantly trying to figure out what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other one. Those two in particular, because I'm going to assume, I'm going to be a homer, and I'm going to assume South Carolina moves the ball at least into, after Robbie Ashford hits Delvon Campbell down the field, South Carolina at least moves into field goal range and gets a field goal, which 3 points in this scenario would have put you in a pretty good position to hold on to the game and maybe take a different stance at the very end trying to get down the field.
Yeah, that's a call that is it seems like it was a phantom call, but if you go back and look at the film, what I couldn't see, and I don't have the all 22, couldn't see whether Nick looked like he was engaged in the stock blocking position, which you can't do. But here's where maybe not being a great blocker maybe came to a bit, because I don't think he was actually blocking anybody, so I don't think he was executing. So you can't call a penalty for somebody attempting to block when they, you know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
He wasn't blocking. He might have been supposed to block. He might have been trying to block. He wasn't doing it, though. And so, yeah, that was a big call. And also, the play was way over there. Why are you making yourself over here if we're assuming that it's called on Nick? This is not a factor in that play, so you don't have to throw that call.
Right.
So even if let's say if it was, kind of the rule of officiating is that you call things that affect you affect the plays. And so if it's not actually affecting a play, you can sort of hold that flag. That's sort of the given understanding.
803-404-6100. Let me tell you about the men's clinic. Go ahead and give them a call. Guys, as we get older, you know what? Things always might not be perfect in life. You might be struggling, recovering from workouts. You might be losing hair and you're not sure why. Other things may be going on. Don't hold this to yourself. Call Dr. Dan Balknight today at the men's clinic. 803-875-MENS. They specialize in restoring the prime in men's life. And I tell you what, they know there's nothing generic about you, so why settle for general medical care? Give them a phone call, line up an appointment today, 803-875-MENS. That's Dr. Dan Balknight. Trust me, guys, when you need to have a problem, go to Dr. Dan. Give him a call today.
Watts Hill Road between Highway 1 and Wildwood Lane, there is a report of an accident there out in Elgin. But aside from that, things actually moving along. Kind of a good morning for a good start to your Monday morning, that is. And as far as forecast goes, that tropical cyclone is going to be bringing us some gusty winds and some rain as well. 76 for the high today. Those tropical showers off and on. And again, some gusty winds. 80 tomorrow with a few showers. And on Wednesday, that should be cleared out, just be partly cloudy, and 87 actually for both Wednesday and Thursday. Right now, a little bit breezy, 72 on the early game.
Up and Adam, as we get you going this morning, Monday morning, game day. I tell you what, let's get out because he waited patiently, Jen. Let's get to Ernest real quick before we get to Jamie Bradford, and then we'll get to Jamie Bradford. Ernest, how you doing this morning? What's on your mind?
I'm doing fine, guys. I'm going to say the quiet part out loud. You know, I think I'm a good football fan, not great, but my problem is our defense. Clayton White, he's learned on the job, and that's good. My thing is, I think we need to bring in him a little bit more help because LSU did nothing out the way that I thought that you couldn't defend. Now, he's learning on the job. That's good. But I think if you bring in him and get him a little bit more seasoned to get this defense, because the defense needs a little bit more seasoning. LSU did nothing out of the ordinary that you shouldn't be able to do defense with the guys we have on defense. That's my thing. And I'm saying, Clayton, you've got to make some adjustments with your alignment. What you're doing with LSU just kept LSU run a play on first down. And I'm saying, Clayton, they're going to run the ball on second down. I don't give if they lost yards on first down. They're going to run the ball on second down. And we never made adjustment for this second down alignment that what LSU were doing. They say, well, they're not going to make adjustments, so we're going to continue doing what we do. And they will pick up 6-7 yards on second down. Do you agree with, or am I making too much of it? Thank you, guys.
I think there's a couple things. I agree that I'm always on the idea of having an old veteran wise coach up on the staff. So the idea of maybe adding a veteran coach to the defensive staff, I'm not mad at that. I also think that Clayton might have went away from the four-man front a little bit earlier than I would have anticipated against that game. My last part to that is Brian Kelly's really good. He's a really good offensive coach, and he does some little things within his offensive scheme that make things tough on defensive coordinators. So that'd be my only thing. But I think those are all fair points that you made.
Thank you for the phone call. Thank you for waiting there, Ernest, as we got to you. 803-404-6100 if you want to text in this morning and weigh in. Joining us now, as he does each and every Monday morning, Jamie Bradford. And, Jamie, everything about Saturday was great. And if you were not a South Carolina fan, it was actually kind of a phenomenal Saturday. You had an incredible game. Game day looked as good as it had all season. The environment at Williams-Brice Stadium was incredible. The South Carolina fans, however, wanted a victory and just couldn't quite pull it out.
Yeah, it was a heck of a day. It was quite the infomercial for the University of South Carolina, and then obviously it didn't go their way at the end, which is what's most important to pretty much everybody, and I understand that. That was frustrating to see. This team, they deserve better. And I think that as the season goes along, one of those will end up going their way, hopefully to offset it. But it was that's one of those, Bill, we've been doing this a long time. Presley, we've been doing this a long time. You've always got a few in the back of your mind that you go, man, what could have been. And and you just feel like that one's going to end up on that list. It sure feels like it right now.
Yeah, and we did this last Wednesday, unfortunately, where we tried to purge some of these losses out of our system. So, big picture takeaway, though, Jamie. I'll start with you, and then Preston, you can answer to what Jamie says. Big picture takeaway, what you saw in that game. Look, we're a quarter of the way through the season now. One thing that I noticed last night, pretty much every bowl projection that anybody can make, ESPN, 24/7 Sports, On3, I think ESPN does 2 of them, has now South Carolina in some form of a bowl. Sorry, Preston, none of them were the Las Vegas Bowl. But nonetheless, what do you take away? Because you get Akron this weekend. You're a 4-touchdown favorite, or at least you were last night when the lines came out. You should win that. Look, I agree. This is the fun part, and maybe the part that stinks the most. If you'd have asked South Carolina fans at the beginning of August, hey, you get to be 3-1 at the end of September, 95% of them would have signed up for it. South Carolina better be, look, we all agree with this, they better be 3-1 when we all reconvene here next Monday. But what do you take away from this team, what you've seen on Saturday, Jamie, that gives you hope for the remainder of the season?
Well, I think they are who I thought they were going into the game. I mean, you can go to the stats and look at the numbers and talk about things that happened on defense and this, that, and the other. And I just caught the end of that caller. I agree with what Preston said as far as the 3 and 4 front, but we'll get to that later. I think this team's got a bunch of really good football players. I think they got a bunch of playmakers. And, you know, if you don't lose your quarterback on Saturday, regardless of the just awful officiating, you probably win the game. I think they would, but can't prove that either. So, yeah, I don't really think much has changed since last week as far as how I view this football team. I think they've got a lot of really good football players, and I think they're very hungry, and they'll continue, as long as they stay healthy, they'll continue to get better as the season goes along. They play a lot of really good teams. But, you know, you can beat really good teams. I mean, Carolina's got a chance to do that. They're a good football team with good football players. So, yeah, I do think we'll be going to watch them somewhere in December or January, go play a 13th game. They deserve it.
I want to go back to the idea of the call and Clayton White and what Jamie was saying. But one of the things that we've always wanted as a fan base and as people walking into the stadium is to feel like we had a chance. And I think with this defense and the way Clayton White, and there's no shame in getting schemed up by Brian Kelly. I think that's the biggest thing I'm trying to get to. Like, Brian Kelly is really good, so there's no shame in that. But the way Clayton White has the defense playing, with the effort that they're playing with the things that they're doing, I think that is encouraging for us as a fan base.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Well, and of course, again, you got the talent too. Like, we're going into the game. You know, you a lot of the conversation when there's big games around here, at least for the last 10 years, centers around the hoopla, right? It centers around, oh, this is at night, and we get a chance to pull off an upset, and you know, game day shows up this time, and you've got all this crazy stuff going on throughout the week. But actually, when you clear all that stuff, when you take all that off the table, and you go, all right, well, look at football teams, let's get down to the nitty gritty, who's good and who's got a chance to win and all that type of stuff. Carolina came into the game with a great chance to win because of what they're capable of doing up front. That's where it starts in the SEC. Obviously, you played on the defensive line at South Carolina. You know dang well, if you can't play up front, you can't play. And the Gamecocks on the defensive side are outstanding up there, and I thought they did a hell of a job against probably the best offensive line in the country on Saturday. And then on the offensive side, it's a group that just continues to grow and grow and grow and get better. I mean, they had 243 yards on the ground, guys. That's pretty good. So, look, when you get down to the X's and O's and the matchups and do they have good football players, South Carolina is now much more in the conversation than they have been in years past, and that's what is encouraging.
803-404-6100. We'll go back into specific parts of this game coming up in the next segment. But real quick, Jamie and Preston, another really good weekend overall for South Carolina athletics. I know we have not talked about the Ray Tanner news, and we might get to that later in the week. Oh, by the way, in case you – and lost in all this, by the way, on Friday in the Friday news dump, Ray Tanner's stepping down.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, South Carolina's in the market for a new AD. That's not important news at all, but we will probably get to that later in the week.
Yeah,
probably.
Ray, relax. Man. We got stuff happening here.
I can't even guarantee that we'll get to that by Wednesday, given how this weekend played out. But last night, Tony Annan's soccer team, they are rolling. They took down East Tennessee State 2-0 last weekend. They are now 5-0-2 on the season. They got a big one against Marshall that we'll highlight a little bit later on in the week, coming up on Friday. Women's volleyball, fantastic this weekend. They went 2-1 this weekend with wins over Stetson, and FIU lost to Wake Forest yesterday. They're now 7-2 on the season, and women's soccer just handled Georgia State yesterday 6-0. Georgia State's women's soccer team probably still celebrating Georgia State beating Vanderbilt in football on Saturday. Vanderbilt, welcome back to earth. So, but good weekend across the board. If anybody, I was trying to look. I'm not sure where to go for hockey and rugby and any other clubs.
We need a correspondent.
Yeah, we need a good correspondent on that. But a good weekend all the way around. We'll keep you updated on some of that. Get back into the South Carolina and LSU game and get some thoughts, Jamie's thoughts on some particular individual performances and some of the questions I asked earlier. So we'll get to that with him as well. 803-404-6100. Jamie Bradford joining us as he does each and every Monday. Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. It is the early game.
Preston here. Let me tell you about our friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So if your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, that's no problem. They'll come out to your location and replace it for you, usually for free, and they'll work directly with your insurance company to take away the headache. Yes, they will come out to wherever you are, school, home, work, it does not matter. Now, if you're at home and you're looking to increase the value of your home, you can do that with new windows and mirrors, and Absolute Glass will take care of that for you too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. Say it all the time. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
Traffic-wise, I-20 eastbound at Highway 6, we have a report of an accident there. And Watts Hill Road between Highway 1 and Wildwood, that will be out in Elgin. Forecast-wise, tropical showers and winds coming in a little bit later on today. 76 will be our high. 80 tomorrow with a few showers out there. And that should clear up by Wednesday. 87 is what we're looking at for a high. But right now it's kind of breezy. A few scattered showers. 72 on the early game.
Up and Adam, 7:16 on your Monday morning, where it looks like the weather's going to be a little dicey around here for a few days. We'll try and keep you updated on that this morning as we roll along, making sure that you are discussing that we are getting completely into the South Carolina game, LSU, and we'll continue to talk about that. Do want to remind you that September is Hunger Action Month, and the Game and Hardee's are teaming up for the Hardee's Roundup. Go to your participating Hardee's and round up your bill to the nearest dollar amount. All donations go to the Harvest Hope Food Bank for students. So again, it is a really cool thing we're doing, teaming up with Hardee's for the Hardee's Roundup. Just go to your participating Hardee's and round up your bill to the nearest dollar amount. All donations go to the Harvest Hope Food Bank for students. Joining us as he does each and every Monday, Jamie Bradford. And Jamie, we got a lot of text on this, so let's allow you and Preston to really get into this in terms of broken tackles by Cade Durham for LSU. Cade Durham, 11 carries, 98 yards, 2 touchdowns. He is the, I think he's the SEC Freshman of the Week. Is that the official title?
Well, I don't know. I know he's a freshman.
Okay. Well, there's just so many freshman running back, freshman guy wearing number 11 or whatever he wears. You know, they come up with a lot of different of these things. But this is several texters have weighed in on this. How many broken tackles did we have? I feel like we didn't tackle well at all, especially in the second half. A lot of people weighing in on the tackling situation. Jamie, I'll start with you because that did seem to be something that was a little bit of an issue at what seemed like critical times for South Carolina.
Yeah, there's no question. They missed more tackles Saturday than they missed in their first 2 games combined. I can tell you that. It was poor. Coach Beamer mentioned it after the game, that, that's just got to be better than that. They are better than that. They've proven they're better than that. I think they'll be fine. That's not why they lost the game. But, certainly. When you miss tackles, it's going to make things much more difficult on you against an offense like LSU who can score a bunch of points. You give LSU credit and take some credit away from South Carolina when it comes to that. But, those things, O'Donnell Fortune, one of the big ones, he's trying to rip the ball out there, understand what he was doing, but probably a spot where he needs to get him to the ground and not give up a first down.
Preston, defensive guy, what do you take away? How do you analyze? When you see a missed tackle, number one, what happens to you physically?
I'll say this, man. Tackling gets a lot tougher when you're tired. When you're tired and you've played a lot of snaps, man, instead of taking the extra step and bodying up somebody and putting your body on them and wrapping your arms, you might think you're playing with the same amount of effort, but you leave your feet and you try and grab. And it's not because you're not playing hard. It's just that one extra step that you would have taken when your battery was fully charged. It's a little bit more difficult to take when you're tired. That's
an interesting observation, or well, not observation. That's an interesting fact that you bring up, and the reason is O'Donnell Fortune played 78 snaps, which I think is the most you could play in that game. He and DQ Smith both played 78, and I'm not saying you take O'Donnell Fortune out for long periods of time. But I think, is there something to that to get him a rest for 5, 6, 7 plays?
I don't know if you get him a rest. Ideally, you would like just to get the defense off the field as a whole by being able to control the ball a little bit more on offense, ideally. But if you can't, man, listen, man, football is very tough in the fourth quarter. That's why they call it all the cliches that come out. you have to be able to make a few of those plays. I would love to. That's why you want to put pressure on LSU too, because if you have guys that can miss tackles, miss assignments, they had the same things happening. This is going to happen during late stages of the game. We don't have the analytics here, but I would love to see if there's a breakdown between when the tackles were missed, if it was a progression as the game goes along.
Jamie, I'll come back to you, Preston, on this because I want both of you's opinion on the defense as a whole. Going into this game, it was like, oh, man, our defense is great. Our defense is going to shut them down. And the front four, LSU's offense. Now, LSU's good. Because here's where the divide is. That's a very talented offense. And Garrett Nussmeier, again, South Carolina technically played him better than any of the other three teams that he started against. And that's Southern Cal, which I don't know what that means right now. That's Wisconsin last year in the bowl game and Nichols. This is the first time he's not thrown for 300 yards. This was the lowest completion percentage he's had in a game. He was 24 of 40. He got pressured. He got knocked around, but LSU made good plays. But what do we think of this defense now after that game? Because, look, Mississippi looks horrifying.
Yeah, they're so horrifying. Wake Forest said, no, thank you.
Yeah.
We'll cancel our next game. We don't want to play.
Mississippi looks horrifying. Alabama is figuring it out with Kalen DeBoer. Jalen Milroe is becoming all of a sudden Peyton Manning out there with Michael Vick's legs. Like he's figuring it. He was great on Saturday.
Or is he becoming Arch Manning?
Oh, good. Oh, good one. Good one. Look, this team, Missouri held on. I'm a little. We'll do maybe a heat check on some of these teams later on in the 8:00 hour. But Jamie, what do you make of this defense now? What are you most focused on improving, and do we still believe what we believed after the Kentucky game?
Well, I still believe it. Yeah, I mean, but I think that there is a gap that's reality versus versus fiction. Fact versus fiction, if you will. And this league and all the offenses they're going to face coming up here later on this year, and we don't know what some of those teams will end up looking like later on in the season. A&M, Clemson, those type guys as well. But what you saw against Kentucky, like that's just not reality every week in the SEC or really anywhere. Now, but you can still have a really good defense in the SEC and give up 21, 24, 27 points per game sometimes. Like, it just is what it is. The numbers on Saturday are better than the scoreboard is showing because 2 pick sixes came off the board. One of them, by the letter of the law, should have. The other one should not have. Carolina had a drive taken away from them late in the game on the Ashford pass, and then they end up, giving the ball back to them. So, like, you're talking about a lot of points. You're talking about the things that should have happened in the game happen the way that they were supposed to. LSU probably, scores under 30 points in this game. Carolina's got 2 or 3 takeaways that they have under 400 yards of offense, and everybody's sitting here going, man, these guys are what we thought they were, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So nothing has changed for me. I think this defense is special. You give LSU some credit for doing some things to neutralize it. Dylan Stewart, I don't think had a tackle on Saturday, and Preston already spoke about Brian Kelly. I mean, he's won 306 games in his coaching career. He's the winningest coach in FBS. There's a reason for that. So, you do want to give some credit there, but I don't think these guys, I don't think anything has changed with them. I think that they will, every single week, they're going to give you a chance to win. You're going to have to score points no matter what against Ole Miss. I mean, it doesn't matter. The offense is going to have to sustain drives and stay on the field, but the defense will give you a chance to win. Just, it doesn't matter who they play.
Yeah, that's my last point. I'll just piggyback off what Jamie just finished with. Every week, I believe, with this defense, you have an opportunity to win games. And even they might win you some games, as they almost did against LSU. And I think that's really all you can ask for out of a defensive unit. They will keep you in any games, and they might have a chance to win you some games. So I left this game after week 3, maybe even almost higher, because LSU, in my opinion, was way better than Kentucky was last week. And they still competed and excelled against that offense.
Here's what I'm trying to wrap my mind around. I'm going to change the subject a little bit on us. So both of y'all like what you saw on Saturday in terms of the future of this season. When you lose a game like this, how do you move forward with this was a turning point for the program? Preston, you brought up one of the things you would, did we? We did a segment, Jamie, in the first hour said, but did we? And we talked a little bit about the run game and about shutting Nussmeier down and going conservative. Was this a turning point for South Carolina in terms of knowing who they are, where you look at it and you go, man, 13 penalties, 2 of which cost us 14 points. A third, which cost us maybe a field goal. I mean, you're right. There's 3 penalties in there that conceivably cost South Carolina 17 points. How do you make this a game where South Carolina believes in themselves, not just for the remainder of the season, but it's a turning point for the program where you look and say, we were good enough to go toe-to-toe with them. We can be them. And LSU's not a national title contender, but they're a top 20 club. Garrett Nussmeier is one of the better quarterbacks in the country. How do you make that become reality, Preston, where you take something from this and you say, all right, we're going to use it the rest of the year and moving forward for our program?
Yeah, it's a bad scenario because you want to win this game, but for coaches, this is almost perfect because they can say, look, this is what we've been trying to tell y'all this whole time. Y'all are good. Y'all can play with anybody in the country, but you can't do stupid things. And you just line up all of the dumb things that they did. I'm not even talking about the inaction penalties. I'm talking about jumping off sides, lining up off sides, motion, whatever, lineman downfield. And you say, fellas, we eliminate these things during practice. Let's clean this up during the week and look how good we can be. And as a player, sometimes your coaches talk to you and you're like, yeah, whatever, man. All right, whatever. But then you actually believe it and you see it, and maybe they can start putting those things into practice during the week.
Jamie, you've seen a lot of football at South Carolina. You're familiar with it. Is there a game? I was trying to go back and find a game in which South Carolina lost where it felt like they could take something from it. I'm not sure where it would turn the program. It would turn the program. I'm not sure that under Steve Spurrier, it wasn't the LSU game back in 2008, I believe is when it was, when LSU came here. South Carolina led that ball game. Stephen Garcia was the quarterback. He also got tackled by a referee in that ball game. South Carolina led that ball game by a touchdown at halftime and would lose that game by a touchdown, 24-17. Is there a game you can think of or how you take this and move it forward?
Well, I mean, you could argue that. You could argue, to be honest, LSU in Baton Rouge in 2012. Now that one wasn't at home, obviously, but Carolina thought they had a good chance there. I mean, I'm sure if I went back and dug a bunch of them up, we could find them somewhere. But I mean, I think to Preston's point too, this week, I mean, I would go over. I've never been the head coach of a college football program, but I would go over every single penalty, every little thing that cost them the game, whether it was fair or not, and I would use that as motivation. And luckily it's Akron this week and not Ole Miss coming to town or not having to turn around and go to Alabama. Like, you have a chance to be able to get back out there, get your head on, and do all those things right. Get some momentum, go into an off week, continue to get things right, and then you hit that stretch. And guess what? You still get to be home. You don't have to turn around and leave Columbia. So they're going to be in town for a while, and they get a chance to really get things sharpened up and use a lot of what happened against them in the game on Saturday to motivate themselves to go out there and beat somebody that they're not supposed to beat. They weren't supposed to beat LSU. Not many people outside of Columbia were really expecting them to beat LSU, maybe some after they saw what they did in Lexington, but it wasn't widespread, and we know that. And there's a lot of teams that are left on this schedule. You're not supposed to beat them. You're just South Carolina. That's a motivating factor when you take into consideration everything that happened in the game this past weekend that was self-inflicted and the stuff that wasn't self-inflicted. I mean, like, I'm not a big blame officials guy. Never have been. You need to own your mistakes. But I mean, let's be honest. A lot of that stuff was ridiculous this weekend. So take that, motivate them, move forward, and go beat somebody you're not supposed to beat.
We'll come back. We'll talk big picture in college football. It's the early game. Bill Gunner for AAA Heating and Air, where they've got a contest going right now that you need to be a part of. It is the oldest air unit in the Midlands competition. That's right. Do you think that you have the oldest air conditioning unit here in the Midlands? If you do, you need to contact AAA Heating and Air today. They got a great contest going on right now. They are out to find the oldest air conditioning unit in the Midlands service area. Go to myoldAir.com and complete the online entry form. AAA Heating and Air will draw a winner at random for every 100 entries. It's really that simple. Contest is for a limited time only. Only residents in the AAA Heating and Air service area are eligible to enter. See the terms and rules on their website for a full list of contest rules. That's right. Do you think your AC unit could be the oldest in the Midlands? If so, again, go to myoldAir.com and they will draw a winner. And if so, you have a chance to win a brand new HVAC system for your home. Call AAA Heating and Air today, 803-677-1500.
Traffic-wise out there on your Monday morning, Longs Pond Road at Muddy Springs Road. There's an accident there. Also, I-20 eastbound there at Highway 6 and Hardscrabble near Summit Parkway, an accident as well. 76 for the high today. Some tropical-like winds and showers coming in. A few showers tomorrow. Today's high 76, 80 for tomorrow. The rain should be out by Wednesday and warming up to 87. It is a little bit breezy out there right now and 72 on the early game.
.36 as we roll along on your Monday morning. Hope you're doing well, getting up, getting the kids to school or daycare or whatever you got to do on a Monday morning as we will get you ready. Tomorrow, a reminder, Shane Beamer press conference, 1 p.m. You can hear that right here on 107.5 The Game. We'll get to hear the updates on Lenora Sellers, and we'll find out if TJ Sanders found a foot or another foot, or if he's got a foot. I don't know what happened. I just know on Saturday afternoon in the post-game press conference, when asked about injuries, Shane Beamer said that TJ Sanders had a foot. So we worry about that. Best of luck to TJ Sanders on that foot or whatever. But you need to get him back. And it is a good week coming up for looking ahead and kind of being able to take on Akron, which, as I've said, 28-point favorite the Gamecocks were listed as of last night. I take Akron. And as Preston said, take the under. That'll probably be a sloppy game. But let's look back, Jamie Bradford, at the weekend that was around college football. Let's start with I don't know if I'll label this a shocker. Georgia has one of these every year, but Georgia goes to Kentucky. I guess everybody just completely, much like South Carolina after Old Dominion, everybody wrote Kentucky off, said Kentucky's awful now, not sure they can ever win another ball game.
Me.
Some of them started calling Mark Stoops. They added a P and took out the ST and rolled with him on that. But your thoughts on the Georgia-Kentucky game?
Well, every time that game is in Lexington, seemingly nobody can score. I mean, the final this weekend, 13-12. Dogs haven't lost in the series since 2009, but up there it's been a struggle. Last time they went a couple of years ago, I think the final on that one was 16-6, and before that it was 14-3. I mean, it's been a struggle up there. Kentucky can't score against Georgia, but who can? So, yeah, I mean, look. In this league, you just have to win games like that. Georgia obviously is so good; they found a way to do it. I think it also proved that Kentucky's probably not as bad as everybody across the country thought after week 2 when Carolina did what they did to them. They're probably going to beat somebody they're not supposed to beat. But that Georgia defense is just it really is just spectacular, and they're going to. It's hard to see them losing the game, but they got Alabama coming up here in a couple of weeks. So somebody's going to fall in that game. I think by the letter of the law, somebody has to lose.
You would think. We've seen crazier things, but somebody has to lose. Speaking of somebody has to lose, are you two buying in to Tennessee? Preston, I'll start with you. 69-3 over Chattanooga, 51-10 over NC State. They offered the mercy rule to Kent State to play less minutes or play running clock against Kent State. Kent State declined and then got thumped 71-0.
First of all, Kent State, you got to take that. Quietly, just throw a signal out there, protect your players. Let's get out of here, get on the bus, and let's go home. To be honest, I'm hearing a lot of Tennessee in my ear periphery, but I think maybe because we don't play them this year, I have not focused on them as much. So I can't give a sustained answer to that.
Jamie, you buying Tennessee?
Yeah, I'm buying them. Yeah, I am. They're
that's fair.
They're good. They're really, really, really good. I mean, everybody's going to talk about their offense, but they've only given up 13 points this season, guys, on defense. They're loaded. They're good.
They go to, the reminder this week, that'll be the marquee game. They go to Oklahoma, who keeps winning, and I say keeps winning somehow, some way. 16-10 over Houston 2 weeks ago, 34-19 over Tulane in a game that was a little bit closer than maybe people realize if you weren't paying attention. That game is this weekend. Game day will be out there. I didn't look at the spread for that game last night. Whatever it is, I'm taking Tennessee. Tennessee, I think, is about to run Oklahoma absolutely off the field, and I think a lot of people.
Not much.
Huh?
7.5. Balls are favored by 7.5. And the crazy thing is the over-unders 57.5.
Good grief. Well, yeah, well, maybe Tennessee shuts down Oklahoma. I could see that 45-10 or something. On the flip side of that, so I complained at the beginning of the season, man, really wish we had Tennessee. I didn't really say much about Florida, guys, but whew, I wish we had Florida, and I'm glad we're dodging Tennessee this year. Jamie, I'll start with you. The Florida Gators and Billy. I mean, this is incomprehensible. I don't know how Florida gets to here.
Yeah, I don't either. This isn't going to be. This ain't going to last very long. Let's be honest. I'm not one of these people that has some huge opinion of Billy Napier. I don't know him. I've only seen him coach. I know people like to pick on him and make fun of him, and they get nicknames for him. So that's fine. That's sports. I'm not saying anybody's wrong. I'm just not that type of dude. I'm just trying to figure out how on planet Earth you go to Florida and you just stink. I mean, they're just terrible. They don't have good football players. They're not well coached. I mean, it is a total debacle down there. They got to go to Mississippi State this week, and they're only 4.5-point favorites. Mississippi State really isn't any good. I mean, this is about to get pretty ugly, I think, and I'm not so sure that Billy Napier is going to be calling plays here by the time they get into November. I think it's going to get bad.
I wish we had Florida on the schedule. What do you think, Preston?
This is where X is really undependable because you just see all of the different information coming up. Florida's having a board meeting. Is something happening? They have a bye week in 2 weeks. Would that be the ideal time? I just feel like once you open that door, you cannot close it, and so
you can't.
It's a wrap.
I really can't believe they came out in a game they knew that meant so much and were that bad. Preston, as a former player, when you have a game and you're is that just strictly coaching?
Well, again, people don't like to. It gets overused. Culture, something's rotten in the culture because they're talented enough to not be that bad.
Exactly.
So something's wrong. Something's not going right in there. And when you see that as admin, you have to make a change.
And let me point out something real quick too. If you haven't looked at the schedule, so obviously they go to Starkville. And then they've got a week off, and they come home. You might not want to lose to Gus Malzahn in Central Florida, guys.
It's happening.
But that could happen. But here's the kicker. The next 2 weeks, they're not going to go to Knoxville and win, and we all know that. And it's going to be bad, and it's going to be embarrassing, and they can't stand losing to Tennessee. But equally now, Florida fans cannot believe that they're on a losing streak against the Kentucky Wildcats, and they host Kentucky October the 19th. And then guess what happens after that? Got another off week before you've got the cocktail party. You don't think that's the perfect opportunity to make a change, and then you have a built-in excuse for when you get your tails whipped by Georgia just up the road in Jacksonville? You go, okay, well, we're going to make a change here. Going to put this guy in as the interim. But then that provides them some cover as far as trying to finish out the season with an interim coach, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they got an off week to try to get ready before you got number 2 Georgia, and then they go on the road to number 1 Texas. I mean, it's just a wild scenario. I don't think he gets here.
I really feel like every coach in America is doing what I'm doing right now, scrolling the Florida commitment list, going, I wonder if 4-star wide receiver Vernell Brown III is interested in hearing from our program this morning. 803-404-6100. We'll come back. We'll wrap it up here with Jamie Bradford, get some thoughts from him looking ahead to Akron. You're listening to the early game. Bill Gunner from Mid-State Roofing, where owner and founder Larry Leitner and his team and his family, they have been the leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry for nearly 30 years. It's that kind of history, that long history of doing things the right way, providing the proper advice, service, and results to the needs of your facility that has made them the leader. So if you've got a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek. They are ready to help you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, whether it's a high-rise or a hospital, manufacturing to industrial. Mid-State Roofing designs and installs bonded systems with a protective guarantee that will keep your operation dry and running long into the future. Give them a phone call today, 803-356-1919. Again, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Someone is there to answer your phone call. Might be an on-call technician, might be a Mid-State Roofing employee, but I can guarantee this, someone is there. Call Mid-State Roofing today, 803-356-1919. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. Bill Gunner for the Acton Law Firm, where if tax troubles are weighing you down, if they're stressing you out, it's time for you to call John Acton and his team. They know what to do. They have proven solutions. Their team is dedicated to resolving your income or business tax issues for good. Trust me when I say this, nobody wants to deal with the IRS, but John Acton and his team are ready to solve your issues. Call today for a free consultation, 803-771-9800. Again, that's 803-771-9800. Whether it's here in Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach, the Acton Law Firm has a local team, again, that is dedicated to helping you escape the IRS maze. So take the first steps towards a worry-free life today. Call John Acton and his team, 803-771-9800. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. 803-404-6100 is how you can weigh in as we will now get ready. We'll turn the calendar. Might wait until Wednesday. The Akron Zips, 52-6 loser to Ohio State, 49-17 loser to Rutgers. They did bounce back this weekend, 31-20 over well-known football power Colgate. So
I appreciate your point, but I do, and we'll get to this later, and let me get my coaching points in here. Ohio State's very good this year. Rutgers, sneaky. That's all I'm going to say.
Prepare yourself as we find a way to incite a rivalry with the Akron Zips starting on Wednesday. But, Jamie, what do you want to see now as we move forward? You come off of that game. You essentially get you get a bye, you get a cupcake. South Carolina should win this. They're a 4-touchdown favorite. Don't tell Notre Dame that, though, because they have nightmares of being 4-touchdown favorites over Northern Illinois. What do you want to see now as South Carolina will play this game, get a bye week, and then you start that gauntlet that is Mississippi, Alabama, Oklahoma?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, you want to see health. Lenoris, I know, had a sprained ankle, so they want to make sure that they get him where they need him to be. You mentioned T.J. Sanders. I know Jared Brown is a guy who Sellers built tremendous camaraderie with in the offseason, and he's banged up. They want to get him healthy. So that's number one. Number two, I mean, it sounds very, very coach speak, right? But you just want to see them continue to move things in the right direction. And, you want to see that offensive line continue to get better and better and better. You want to see, Rocket Sanders was Rocket Sanders on Saturday. Like, that's why he's here, to have big games in big games. And he had one. He was really tremendous, and the offensive line sealed some good holes for him. He made some things happen. And, you want to see this offense run through the run game, and I think that'll help Sellers out as much as anything. Defensively, just don't lose confidence in yourself, and they won't. I mean, those guys are very confident. They played a ton of football. And just kind of continue to be who you are, be aggressive, do the things that you need to do to force other teams to make mistakes and have to change what they do to score points against you. And they'll be okay. Like, this one loss isn't derailing anything. It hurts. Carolina should be 3-0, and they're not, and it hurts. But you just don't want to see that loss linger. Get it out of your system over the next couple of weeks, and then you got that gauntlet there, as you pointed out, with Ole Miss, and then going on the road back-to-back to Tuscaloosa and Norman.
If I can get my mic on, in terms of the offense, what is your expectation for what they try to do this week? I think you even asked that with Rocket Sanders. Like, is this a week where you kind of, all right, obviously the goal is to win the game. You shouldn't, whatever it takes, but in the perfect world, is this a Rocket Sanders 8 to 11 carry game, and you try to work in, add away, you try to find Braswell, you even get Jawan Howell a couple carries?
Well, I mean, I think that if that happens because the football game is well in hand. I don't think you have any mentality like that going into the game. I think that their job is to get this. I mean, look, they're going to have to score points. You got Ole Miss, Alabama, Oklahoma. We know they can score. We'll see what A&M looks like. We know Missouri can score. Clemson can score. I mean, they're going to have to score points to beat those teams. So they have to get into their rhythm. Don't play the opponent and all that stuff. You got to be who you are. You need to figure out exactly who you are and who you want to be. So when you get into those contests, you feel like you're well-oiled. You're confident in what you're doing and who you want to be. And those guys, like, you want to see everybody play, there's no doubt. And hopefully they get to a point in the game where all those guys can get in there and play. But I'm going into this game treating this just like it's Ole Miss. Like, we have to be well-oiled and go in there and put a bunch of points on the board, build some confidence so that can carry throughout the season.
Final thoughts from you today on college football, in particular, Mississippi State, Toledo. Oh, boy. And then Vanderbilt comes back to earth. Yeah. Vandy. You had your chance and you blew it. Mississippi State is them in Florida this weekend. Oh, man, that's rough. They're not very good. There's no doubt. Vandy's probably a little better than that, but they haven't learned how to win yet. So we'll see. But, it's been a phenomenal start to the season. I expect it to be even more of that this week. Jamie, always appreciate it. Look forward to catching up next Monday.
Okay, guys. Have a great week.
Appreciate you.
Take care.
Hardscrabble at Summit Parkway. There is an accident there. Also, I-20 eastbound at Highway 6. That would be exit 55. And Longs Pond Road at Muddy Springs Road, an accident there as well. 676 will be our high today, but we are, because of that tropical cyclone that's kind of making its way, we are going to see some breezy conditions, a few gusts of wind here and there, and some heavier rain coming in, some tropical showers, especially later this afternoon. Tomorrow, a few showers, high of 80, and then we go up to 87 for Wednesday and Thursday, but the rain will have cleared out. Right now, we're looking at just a scattered shower here and there, breezy, and 73.
8 a.m. on a Monday morning. We're off air. Preston and I are trying to figure out the difference, Jen, between a tropical storm and a cyclone, because we heard you say cyclone there during the break, and now we're trying to figure out. We thought cyclones were for Asia, Southeast, so whatever, Asian and Pacific, and we heard you say cyclone. So did you get the traffic report that you get? Does it now use the word cyclone?
Yeah, that was one of the things that I've seen this morning is that they were actually calling it because it's not a potential tropical cyclone 8 will bring tropical showers.
Yeah, see, I have no idea what any of that means, but my antenna went up when I heard cyclone.
I know, right?
You say tropical storm, I'm like, oh, okay, we can handle that. But you say cyclone, I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah, that's what they're calling it, is potential tropical cyclone 8 will bring showers and gusty winds up to 45 miles an hour today.
I have no idea what that means.
Me neither.
It just feels different.
Yeah, I know, right? Kind of weird. Annie M, it's a twister.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, get out your pads and pens real quick. This is from the Global Precipitation Measurement website. What is the difference between a typhoon, a cyclone, and a hurricane? The terms hurricane and typhoon are regional names for tropical cyclones. All tropical cyclones are alike in that they draw heat from warm water at the ocean's surface to power horizontal rotating wind. Although similar in size, tropical cyclones have a different energy source. I can't read that word. I don't know how to pronounce that word. Another type of cyclone, which are storm systems that draw their energy from weather fronts and jet streams. Over the Atlantic and East Pacific, tropical cyclones are commonly called hurricanes. The common term is typhoon for a tropical cyclone that forms in the West Pacific.
All right, so this is like a Venn diagram situation where it's like, some are all, but all aren't all. All right, I'm cool.
Yeah.
I'm good now. I'm
It
good with
doesn't
it.
seem like it's going to be anything just catastrophic. And I mean, when they're talking about rain potential, I mean, they're thinking we might get an inch of rain in the Midlands. So this isn't like
all right. A storm.
Even on the coast, it could be maybe 3 inches.
All right.
I think it's east. It's east of like Myrtle Beach. Myrtle Beach, be careful down there. Florence, you're kind of in the path, I believe. Columbia, I believe I believe northeast is the bad part. Looks like our side, Jen.
A little bit, yeah. It's again just not looking like it's anything crazy. It looks like it's going up through kind of the middle and to the right part of the state.
There you go. All right, kids. We try to teach you something each and every day, and there is your information on typhoons, cyclones, and hurricanes. And just be safe out there, especially if you're down there in the Myrtle Beach area. It sounds like you're going to get the worst of it as we have a little weather pattern. We will continue to cover the LSU South Carolina game here, and then look ahead. Preston and I off air are we're already working on our Akron jokes.
Yeah, we got to work on this one.
We're going to have to, there's going to be a little bit more effort on our part this week. LSU and Kentucky were easy.
Yes.
Akron, I don't know about.
This is what we're going to get. This is why we get paid.
They did break Zach Bailey's leg back in that fixed game.
Do you remember?
I say fixed, the game that had to replayed. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We'll start with that later on this week. Right now, focusing.
Somerville never forgot. Just remember that.
I forgot about it. Ooh, all right. See how quick we were able to put that together. Don't worry, we'll get to that. But right now, again, going back to LSU and South Carolina from the weekend, 36-33 loss. Let's let some of you weigh in this morning. Starting on the phone lines, Richard wants to weigh in on what he saw. Richard, how you doing? What's on your mind?
Good morning, gentlemen. Thanks for taking my call. Out of all the bad calls the other day, the one that bothers me the most is that phantom offensive pass interference. Was there ever an explanation as to who committed that foul?
Real quick, you're talking about the play downfield that Robbie Ashford. Preston, give that what you saw again.
Yes, there was. They mixed up the numbers. I think the play was supposed to be called on Nick Harbor. However, Nick might have been attempting to block, but he wasn't actually blocking anybody.
Yeah, Herbstreit and Fowler did not see a foul on that play.
Mm-hmm.
Could not find it. And then they called out a player's number who wasn't even on the field. That leads me to believe that they yanked that one out of their backside. What do y'all think?
Well, I don't know what I think. What I'm interested, which we aren't going to hear, I think that is one Shane Beamer last night in his teleconference said that Shane Beamer, by the way, in his teleconference, you can't get audio of it, but Shane Beamer last night did say that immediately after the game, after the press conference and after everything, he called the head of officials for the SEC to discuss some of the calls that were made in the game. Again, that's on the teleconference for media members done over the phone last night. I would love to hear the explanations myself. I don't think he can give them, and I definitely don't think the SEC is going to put anything out. That's what I'd love to hear the explanation on what was seen. And that's where Preston and Richard, thank you for the phone call. That's where I personally would like to have some accountability from officials. Whether you agree with them or disagree with them, I would like to hear what the official who called I forget the actual definition of what was called. Was it a roughing the passer? Was it a unnecessary roughness on Kyle Kennard on Garrett Nussmeier?
Yes.
Is it
unnecessary roughness?
I would like to hear just the explanation on that. I'd like to hear the explanation of what was seen on the offensive pass interference or, again, blocking downfield. I'd like to hear that. I'd like to hear the call, because it was kind of a critical one, the false start on Vershawn Lee, when, once again, it looked like LSU had been doing the signals that caught the LSU was doing signals that caught South Carolina off guard. Now, LSU also thought South Carolina did the same thing with clapping when LSU snapped the ball and it hit Garrett Nussmeier in the chest and South Carolina jumped on it.
Yeah, so that's the one thing where you could probably get into a game of who did what. If they're allowing that on the other side, then let's allow it for everybody. I think you probably just want it to be fair on both sides of the ball. You could get into those conversations. Going to the Kyle Kennard, real quick explanation of it. I don't think it was a good call. I think it was very much not having anything to do with it. But the rules as it states is they're trying to, clean up blindside blocks. And so that was a blindside block, as in it was a turn back block where you block behind the play and the player is not looking. That's something that there's a point of safety emphasis, and there also been made a safety emphasis of not blocking behind the play. I don't think it was especially egregious, vicious, or violent, but those are the things that they're going to say was the problem. As I stated before, 2004 Preston probably would have got a helmet sticker and a celebration in the locker room for that. We're playing a different game now.
You said earlier, you said the Emmys were last night?
Yes.
Yeah, last night. That you didn't see Garrett Nussmeier, but he was an honorable mention for an Emmy as well.
Honorable mention for best actress and actor in a SEC
in a pick six
game.
play.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because he sold it. He got hit. He did get pushed, but then he laid on the ground and he looked around and he kind of waited for the referee to draw the flag, and the referee. What happened? This is what happens sometimes with referees. Sometimes they just see somebody go flying and they're like, "Oh, something had to happen," and they just throw a flag because I don't know, that felt wrong, and then when they see him on the ground, it's the aftermath of it. That happens more frequently.
But this is now happening more and more. These guys are flopping.
Absolutely.
There was a play, I think it was in Pittsburgh, West Virginia, where the running back it was going my right to left, and I believe it was West Virginia, was driving late, ends up in a pile. Did look like the defensive lineman might be in that pile, twisting the ankle a little bit. Both of them kind of get up, and the defensive lineman is still holding the ankle, which looked wildly suspicious, but he's just holding it, and all of a sudden the West Virginia running back flails backwards as if it's a wrestling move where he lifts the leg and flips him over. This is becoming more of an epidemic, isn't it? That all players, quarterbacks,
gamesmanship. The defensive linemen, you see them when they get held, they start flailing their arms. Wide receivers, if it's a pass interference, they flop everywhere. Everybody's always looking for a call, and sometimes they fool the refs into getting it.
I don't want to hear any more soccer jokes about players flipping and flopping around. It's in college football bad now. 803-404-6100. Let's get back to the phone lines where Drew wants to weigh in. Drew, how you doing this morning? What's on your mind?
Not doing good, guys. I got to admit, 48 years since I was 3 years old. I'm having a tough time even calling y'all today. Y'all have already briefly touched on the obvious calls, and I'm a big believer in things work themselves out in a wash, but it didn't this past Saturday. And I've always said the league protects certain teams. LSU is one of them. I know these referees are going to get a little hand slap. I'm going to briefly touch on a couple, and I'm going to get to the one that's most egregious to me. The first, we got called twice for offensive pass interference. There's only one problem each time. There was no contact whatsoever. Even worse, the number called each time was totally not the correct number. The first time they called it on Robbie Ashford, who's our backup quarterback, who was on the bench. He wasn't even on the field. The second one was in the second. It was the first big pass of the second half. It's truly one of the worst calls I've ever witnessed. Ashford threw a ball down to Delvon Campbell, who made a hell of a catch while he was being interfered with. Herbstreit even said on the live feed, I went back and watched it, he even said, wow, that's going to be obvious pass interference against LSU. What a hell of a catch. They called pass interference indeed, but they called it on Mazia Bennett. And hell, Bennett didn't even touch any defender until the defender engaged him after the pass was called. But I'm going to the one that sticks in my craw the most. Let me kind of regather myself. The illegal touching. The referee threw his hat, which clearly he saw the illegal touching. The receiver went out of bounds on his own accord from LSU and came back in bounds as the first player to touch it. They even went to review, and they just kind of, I guess, thought everybody in the stands were idiots and no one knew football or didn't know football. And then they ruled it a catch. Preston, you're a football guy. Bill, you're a football guy. Tell me on what planet that was a catch in college football. Because if that play is not called, I'll even let the 2 pick sixes, okay, fine. I'll even let one of those pass interferences go. But you cannot let that, I mean, I don't know, guys. It just confirms my theory I've said forever. The league protects certain schools, period. And that illegal touching, please explain that to me, how that was just glossed over and not the call.
Go right ahead.
No, I think that's a very fair point. I think that's an absolute point. And that the biggest distinction you made is that the wide receiver ran out of bounds on his own accord. It wasn't as if he was being jammed out of bounds. And the rule clearly states that you cannot be the first person to touch the ball. And then you have to make the decision on if it was an actual catch or not. I think that's a big one that many people are probably looking over.
803-404-6100. We'll come back. I see the phone lines filled up. We'll get to you. We got some thorns, buds, and roses. And I have a great philosopher who once made a statement about the SEC that I will send to Jen, and we'll get his comments on what may have happened Saturday afternoon at Williams-Brice Stadium. I'll let you figure out who that great philosopher was. You're listening to the early game. Bill Gunner for Old Timey Meat Market, who I need to personally thank. They were the official sponsor of the Ansley Gunner 15th birthday celebration yesterday at the Gunner household with some more incredible hamburgers, the bacon cheddar burgers. We had some Italian chicken skewers as well. Listen, anything I ever need, the first stop I ever make is Old Timey Meat Market. With 3 locations, they're easy to get to. South Congaree, St. Andrews Road in Irmo, or the Lexington store. And if you're looking for incredible steaks, if you're looking for phenomenal pork chops, you're looking for some delicious salmon, Old Timey Meat Market has it. Let me tell you what, they have the absolute best of cuts, the absolute best cuts of meat at the absolute best prices, and you need to go visit them. There's a tailgate coming this weekend. Make sure you stop by Old Timey Meat Market and get what you want to cook out this weekend. South Congaree, St. Andrews Road in Irmo, or the Lexington store. Stop by today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
Bar Road at West Main Street. We have an accident there. Also, Hardscrabble Road near Summit Parkway. Still getting things cleaned up. I-20 eastbound at Highway 6. And also Longs Pond Road at Muddy Springs Road. That what they're calling a potential tropical cyclone is going to be impacting our weather for the next couple of days, maybe today and tomorrow. We could see some heavier wind gusts today and some rain. 76 for the high, overnight low 65. Then a couple residual showers tomorrow. 80 will be our high before it clears out on Wednesday with a high of 87, sitting at 72 right now.
That is the great philosopher William Muschamp sitting with a South Carolina backdrop behind him. I believe that might have been, I'm not 100% positive on this, that might have been after the Florida game in 2019.
Well, based on how SEC Will Muschamp is and how many logos he's worn, he's probably a good person to ask about this phenomenon because he's worn all of them.
You think he just sat there Saturday in the hotel room in Kentucky? I assume he was up there, given he's an analyst now, and watched South Carolina LSU and went, yeah. Uh-huh. Yep. Uh-huh. And then looked at his bank account and was like, $100 million.
Another deposit from the University of South Carolina just dropped in. It was the 15th again.
That's a good point.
Me and Will Muschamp just got the same deposit. He's had a couple more zeros behind it.
Yeah, it's just I've seen that. I've seen that something like that happen when I'm my time. 803-404-6100. Don't feel bad about yourself if you heard that went, he's right. That Muschamp guy is right on that after all the issues he caused. Let's take to the phone lines before we get to Thorns, Buds, and Roses here. Let's get out to Brent. Jen, let's go to Brent here. Go ahead, Brent. What's on your mind this morning?
Hey, fellas. How y'all doing today? I was calling. I had a kind of, I guess, a question or a theory. I want to see what you guys thought about it. So baseball and basketball, you have where you can challenge plays and have official reviews and go back. If you win the challenge, you get to keep your challenge. If you lose it, it's gone for the rest of the game. What about a football? What do you guys think about being able to possibly the ability to be able to start challenging play or flags on the field? Since, there's a lot of flags that are questionable all the time, not just against the LSU game this past weekend, but just in general, there's a lot of questionable flags. What do you guys feel about as far as that goes, being able to question or, have reviews on flags? If you win the review, you get to keep your challenge, or if you lose it, you lose your challenge for the game. I appreciate it, and I'll hang up and listen. I appreciate it. Have a good day.
Go ahead. What do you got?
NFL has a challenge rule in effect now. The certain things that just looking up because I wanted to make sure. Yes, I do appreciate that. I do think there is a way that and there's some gamesmanship and there's some things that can happen with that. Only thing, unfortunately, in the NFL right now, and I know you're not talking specifically about LSU, but I am, you cannot challenge unnecessary roughness penalties. So that might have been. Now there might have been some other calls you could have challenged. So what can be challenged in the NFL? You can challenge whether a pass is complete or incomplete, which they did. Whether a runner's down by contact or if it's a fumble. Whether a player stepped out of bounds or whether or not a runner scored a touchdown. What cannot be challenged, and it says it explicitly, are penalties for holding, offsides, or unnecessary roughness. So those would be. Now the NFL did experiment for a year with challenging pass interference penalties.
That was a disaster.
That was a disaster, and they've left that They've left that behind. So I would be in favor of a challenge system. It'd just be based on what could you challenge.
All right. I agree with you. You should. I don't see why coaches in college, I don't see where the game is that much different and it's that much more complicated. The coaches in college, I think, should be allowed maybe one challenge per half.
I mean, we have a 2-minute timeout now, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever we call it, 2-minute break. What are we calling it?
Something, yeah. 2-minute, the 2-minute break. The water break. It's like little kids soccer now. It was an interesting weekend. We'll get back to the phone lines, but it was an interesting weekend. Thorns, buds, and roses. Everything that caught Preston Thorn's attention.
It's time for Thorns, Buds, and Roses with Preston Thorn on the early game. 107.5 The Game.
What a weekend, Bill.
Oh, boy, was it.
A lot happened. A lot went down. We were the center of the sports universe this weekend. I do believe that. We had the best game on TV.
Us in Kansas City.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
Yeah. Thorns. Officials. Fans. Players. All of you got on my nerves. The officials making terrible calls. The fans jumping to conspiracy theories. The players flopping on the ground. I dislike it all. It really bothers me, man. Because every single person was in agreement that should not have happened, but it all builds upon each other. And I would just state, again, as I said in the 6 o'clock, just be careful of jumping directly to it's a conspiracy. They can just be bad referees, or they can just make a bad call. I don't know if it has to jump straight to that. Could it? Maybe. The problem is when they make such bad calls and it seems to always go in that direction, sometimes you're left with no choice but like, what's going on here? Because those were 2 calls that should have been really, really looked at. And especially Garrett Nussmeier, I gave you an apology, but dude, you sold that call. And congratulations to you for getting that. So that's the Thorns. Buds, we might have a potential Jim Thorpe Award winner in Nick Emin Warrior. Second game, obviously the pick 6 is taken off the official books, but he played excellent, not only tackling, playing coverage. I think they're trying to figure out a way to use him, and it seems his best use is in a lurking type of thing where he can roam the field and really get out in positions and make plays. He made a great play. I was guilty. I will say this. I did the classic, stay in the end zone. Go!
Yeah.
Go! It was classic. It was 100. It was that quick. Go! Nick, good decision. Obviously, it was taken away. We need 1,000 roses, Bill. 1,000 roses.
1,000?
For our queen, the GOAT, Asia Wilson. First player in WNBA history to score 1,000 points in a singular season.
Good point.
First person. She's entering her prime. These next 2 or 3 years are going to be really fantastic to watch as she sort of distances herself from the field. She's the best player in the WNBA, best women's basketball player in the world. And if that wasn't enough, Bill, I saw an X post from a player in the NBA.
Oh, no.
And he said, I hope you all have 1,000 reasons to smile today. Yes, folks. That was from one Bam Adebayo. We keep an eye on this situation. That feels like it's becoming more and more official.
Yeah, they're just waiting to go Facebook official.
Sounds like it's becoming more official. So yeah, 1,000 roses for Asia. Thorns, players, officials, fans, y'all getting on my nerves. Great weekend of football. College Game Day was awesome. Bill, that was the weekend.
What a weekend. We'll get back into some of that other stuff there as well. 803-404-6100. Yeah, great weekend. One of the favorite parts of the weekend is Dawn Staley making the picks there at about 11:55 or something, and the train comes out behind her, and somebody's like, Coach, your team's out there. And she turned around like she's like, wait, I'm supposed to be with them. That was pretty good. Dawn did a great job on Saturday. The way she represents the university, everything she does, first class, and you can see also, I would say this, the emotion that all of a sudden she had when watching it, I might have cried. I might have got the Wisconsin piece of the game day piece on the Wisconsin player losing his dad to a heart attack. I didn't call that. I told you. I tried to prepare you because they had to move from the set to the stadium, and I said it's going to be the longest piece. So that's I don't know who does it. I don't remember who does it. It used to be Tom Rinaldi. I think he's with Fox now. That was a tearjerker. That was a tearjerker.
You know they're going to get you. You know it. You know it's coming. You can't avoid it.
I mean, I watched it, and I sat in there. I've got Austin, my 12-year-old son, and that That was tough. It's tough. That was a good say. It was a great segment if you didn't see it on the Wisconsin freshman offensive lineman, unfortunately losing his father. I think it was back in February. But a good PA. But ESPN does a great job with that. 803-404-6100. We'll come back. I'll get to the phone lines, and we will get to a lot more. I see Gene. I see Ted. We'll get to both of y'all, and we'll also get into some at least we ain'ts. Florida State, there's something that popped up over the weekend, and I didn't know anything about this. Florida State might have a turtle curse. They might have a turtle curse if you've never seen. I'll explain.
I'll take note.
I will explain this when we come back as well. You're listening to the early game. We are rolling through college football season. Can you believe this for South Carolina? They've already played a quarter of their season. It'll be the same for Clemson this coming weekend. And if you're missing anything, it is because you've been cleaning the house. Don't allow that to happen. Don't let the game day take a toll on your home this season. Call Zerust Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning for those nasty spills when your team scores a touchdown and you jump up and now you got some kind of beverage all over your carpet. Zerust, with their patented cleaning system, gets your home surfaces insanely clean without leaving behind any soapy residue. Zero residue means your surfaces will stay cleaner longer for a limited time. Take advantage of Zerust's fall savings event and get 20% off all cleaning services. That's 20% off carpet, air ducts, area rugs, and even more when you mention me, Bill Gunner at 1075 The Game. Schedule your appointment online, ZerustColumbia.com, or give them a phone call, 803-262-4020. Zerust, spell it backwards or forwards, is the right way to clean.
Bar Road at West Main Street, an accident there. Also, Old Cherokee at Old Chapin in Lexington, we have a report of an accident. And Poultry Lane near Old Eastover Road. That tropical system that's kind of going to be coming through, it's going to be bringing us a little bit of heavier rain this afternoon, some gusty winds. 76 will be our high, 80 tomorrow with a couple residual showers. And then we hit 87 for Wednesday and Thursday under cloudy conditions. But right now, we are at 71 on the early game.
Reminder, September is Hunger Action Month. The Game and Hardee's are teaming up for the Hardee's Roundup. Just go to your participating Hardee's and round up your bill to the nearest dollar amount. All donations go to the Harvest Hope Food Bank for students. Again, it is Hunger Action Month, and the Game and Hardee's have teamed up for the Hardee's Roundup. Go to your participating Hardee's and round up your bill to the nearest dollar amount. All donations go to the Harvest Hope Food Bank for students. 803-404-6100. We'll get to some At Least We Ain't, and I will try to explain this potential curse of a turtle that it might be going on at Florida State. There's some legs to that, I guess, maybe. Let's go out to the phone lines where Gene has waited patiently. Gene, I appreciate you waiting for almost 25 minutes. Let us know what you're thinking about this morning.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Preston. Thank you, Jen, for taking the call. I was just going to express some frustration. Bill, that was ridiculous Saturday. Okay, our people that dedicate their life to that university and them sports athletic departments and that football team, and that was ridiculous. Okay, the scenario, that man made 2 steps, he becomes a defender. Okay, he might have not shouldn't have hit him, but they're still in the rule book. He is a defender. Okay, that block was illegal. Okay, they called that back, and I'm just like the rest of them guys earlier talking about the league takes care of certain teams. I believe that now. I truly believe that. Our team could have been 3-0, 4-0 after beating Akron, and Mississippi Ole Miss coming in there. We 4-0. Anything gonna happen there. 3-0. If we beat them, we're going to Alabama, probably ranked in the top 15. For them to take that game is frustration. And I just can't comprehend, Beamer, I love Beamer. Don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about him, but he should file a complaint with the SEC. That was terrible. And one more thing I'm going to let y'all know. You may not have heard it. Billy Napier will be fired this week. Thank y'all for taking my call.
Mark it down.
We are laughing off air because I just hopped over to the Florida message board, by the way, as to what they're saying. And their insiders are saying, at least of this morning, and you may be right. Look, Billy Napier is going to be fired. It's a matter of when, not if. Yeah, it's not if it's going to happen anymore. They will be eating a $26 million buyout, which is phenomenal. But the insiders over there, and we're going to get to this more tomorrow, are basically saying they expect him to be the coach next week at Mississippi State, this coming Saturday. The responses to that are absolutely phenomenal. I mean, absolutely phenomenal. And the gifts, the first one in there says, "My disappointment is immeasurable and my day is ruined." It is absolutely, if you just need to laugh this morning, if you're in a bad mood, if you've had a rough day, go to Gators, go to swamp247.com, go to their message board. If you got a 24/7 Sports account, you'll be able to go in and read it. It will brighten your day. I can guarantee you just reading the first 25 responses. Back out to the phone lines we go. Ted wants to weigh in this morning. Ted, how you doing? What's on your mind? We got him? Did he fall off the treadmill again?
Must have. Not showing him here.
Nope. Did he disappear? Okay. Ted, give us a call back. We'll give that one more try there for a few minutes when we get him. 803-404-6100, how you can weigh in if you want to do so. So we got some At Least We Ain'ts. And look, tough weekend for the Gamecocks, but there are plenty of people to point at and laugh and say, at least we ain't you. You want to start with one?
I think a very easy, clear one simply is Florida State. because, man, they whined and cried and threatened lawsuits, and everybody was against them, threatened to tear down the whole ACC because they were leaving. And look at them. They are pew-wee. They stink. And I don't see it getting any better anytime soon. So at least we ain't Florida State.
I'm going to go with a tried and true one every Monday. If you're feeling bad about yourself, if you're not happy with your boss, with your work, at least we ain't working for David Tepper. Until proven otherwise, every Monday morning you're angry, you got to go back to work. The weekend wasn't long enough. At least you aren't working for David Tepper. And if you are working for David Tepper and you're listening to this, we are sorry for you, but we ain't you. At least we ain't you. That's an easy one for me right there. You got another one?
Well, I just wanted to add on to that. At some point, I clipped something on the TikTok yesterday, which said that the Panthers had not had a lead in a game for 272 days.
Oh dear.
I just wanted to add on to that for you. Maybe at least we ain't Colorado State.
Oh,
because surprisingly enough, the team that did the most trash talking in this rivalry, was Colorado State. And then they went out there and they lost, and they made it worse on everybody because Colorado actually won. And I had to give it up for Colorado. And get this, the way they handled themselves. So Colorado State, you take the L for talking all that trash and then losing for 2 years in a row.
Yeah, that was not good.
You can't do that. You can't be the ones that kind of the instigators in this situation, and now they're losing.
So you said at least we're not Florida State.
Mm-hmm.
I am now starting to question what's going on at Florida State. So there is now a theory. Follow me this. It is called the curse of Turntill.
Mm-hmm.
So back in 2016, this is on. I read this on. Actually, somebody put it, and then I had to go. I tried to research it to see if there was a little bit more to this, and sure enough, there is. Back on December 2nd of 2016, if you remember the kicker for Florida State. Now, this was still during Florida State's little downturn, a little bit. All right. actually, this was the very start of their downturn. They had a kicker named Ricky Aguayo. You remember Ricky Aguayo's brother?
Kinda.
Brother played in the NFL. After their season in 2016, he murdered a turtle. There's a story behind it. He had been receiving some threats from some fraternity members. They had a turtle named Turntill, but he'd been receiving some threats about missed kicks that were pivotal, apparently in some of their bets. These were frat members that cost them some money or whatever. Him, Ricky Aguayo, and apparently two other people broke into the frat house and killed a turtle. I'm not going to go into details on that. It was a little more graphic even for me to stomach last night. The following the bowl game, Florida State beat Michigan to get to 10-3. That's great. Aguayo that year finished with a 73.1% field goal percentage and 108 points. The start of the next season was the huge game, I believe it was in Orlando, against Alabama. Remember that game?
Mm-hmm.
DJ Francois got injured. Ever since then, Florida State lost to NC State, Miami, Louisville, Boston College, Clemson. Jimbo Fisher, that next December, threw his Christmas tree out on the road and left for Florida State. Florida State would make a bowl game, get to 7-6. Aguayo would finish the season with an 85.7% field goal percentage, but just 96 points. The following season, as a Florida State fan points out, 2018, he said Florida State swag surfs to a loss against Virginia Tech. They then lost to Syracuse, Miami, Clemson, North Carolina State, Notre Dame, and Florida. They did not reach a bowl game. Aguayo that year finished with a 64.7% field goal percentage and just 63 points. The following season, it got worse. They lost to Boise State. You remember that game? They lost to Virginia. That was ugly. Clemson thumped them. Wake Forest beat them. Miami beat them. And guess what happened? Florida State fired Willie Taggart.
Okay. The Willie Taggart era.
There could be a deep dive on the Mike Norvell era, as it's been pretty ugly. Ricky Aguayo that year finished with a 50% field goal percentage and 62 points. It then goes on, I can't read all of it because we're limited on time, to point out everything that's happened, including just when things seem to be the brightest for Florida State, Jordan Travis's injury, the Orange Bowl against Georgia, and now an 0-3 start.
Long live Turntill. Until you do right by Turntill, nothing good will come on Florida State.
I'm just telling you, you might want to go back and read some of this. There is starting to be a belief in Tallahassee. Some of it has to do with what's going on with the ACC. that Ricky Aguayo is the pain of all of Florida State's issues the last several
I'd also
years.
like to add that at least we aren't any of these schools like Mississippi State who are paying schools money to come and take the check and leave with the dubs. We are officially in a new era where we just pay teams to come and beat us, and they get to leave with the dub and the check. So at least we're not them.
And by the way, Toledo played that perfectly, by the way, because they were supposed to have another game that got canceled, and they got like $500,000 for it to move the game. So Mississippi State jumped in with $1.2 million. Oh, man. Toledo. This morning, the breakfast buffet at Toledo is phenomenal. We'll come back. We'll wrap up the program. I'll hit the phone lines, and we'll get out of here. You're listening to the early game. Bill Gunner from Mid-State Roofing. I'm telling you what, you heard what Jenna said. We're going to get some rain here over the next about 48 hours. Is your roof ready to handle it? Have you even thought about that? You probably don't walk around on a daily basis thinking about your roof, but you know who does? Mid-State Roofing. That's why they've been the leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry for nearly 30 years. It's because of their proven history, the way they provide the proper advice, service, and results to the needs of your facility. They want to make sure that even though you're not thinking about your roof, they are, and they're ready to help you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Just give them a phone call. You're going to speak with an on-call technician or a Mid-State Roofing employee ready to help you with a maintenance contract. 803-356-1919. Again, that's 803-356-1919. Whether you're here in Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach, somewhere in this great state, Mid-State Roofing is ready to help you, your business, your family, whatever it may be. So call Mid-State Roofing today, 803-356-1919. If you've got a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek. 8:49. We wrap it up. We'll try and be a little positive. I know there's a lot of, I don't want to say negative out there this morning, but we'll try and be a little positive here in this final segment. Is there negative or is there just frustration?
I think it's consensus. I think we all kind of agree. It's just the varying degrees of how we're approaching this, but I don't think there's any mistake about it. It was questionable officiating.
You know what? 2 weeks ago today was Labor Day. We didn't have a ton of interaction because a lot of you were off, so we got a lot of it on Tuesday. But 2 weeks ago today, how would you define the Gamecock fan base feeling?
Despondent, terrible, sad, depressed.
There are people that are ready to start a hot board for new head coaches. Today, it feels like people are upset. Gene, one of them, previous caller, who feel like our playoff chances have been dashed. Welcome to the roller coaster of college football season.
Gene hit us with a, we want Bama.
Yeah.
He's like, Bama's coming to town. I was like, oh, I was ready. All right, Gene, I hear you.
Well, do we want the Georgia that played Kentucky?
Well, yeah, we could. That's what you should be able to do. You get to pick which team shows up. It's like when we play Georgia, we want to play that Georgia.
Yeah.
We don't want to play that Kentucky. We already played the bad Kentucky. We want to play the bad side of the teams. Maybe the Oklahoma team that showed up against Tulsa a couple weeks ago. You know, like that's how it should be.
I can't remember how I picked it. You remember we did picks, and I might see if Jen can pull that segment from when we were down in Darlington. I want to say that I'm where I should be right now. I think I had the Kentucky win, but the loss to LSU. I stand by wins over Oklahoma and Texas A&M as we sit here and head toward Akron. Let's get to the phone lines one more time real quick. Brian wants to weigh in. Thank you for being patient, Brian. How you doing this morning? Oh, Jen walked out of the studio and I wasn't paying attention. We'll try and get to you, Brian, here in just a minute if Jen shows back up in the studio, wherever she just went in her producer room. The transition that you get for feelings, emotions, where you're at with your program. Florida State fans 3 weeks ago were riding high. Florida State fans today don't know what to do. Florida Gator fans, I think, didn't know what to think going into the season. They now know what they're thinking.
I think they had their worst fears confirmed. They were trying to give them a chance, let it play out and all that. And I think the worst fears have been confirmed as they've seen, and it's not going well.
I wrote down on our list of at least we ain't Kentucky. Because and South Carolina fans, have you felt like this before, where you see your team absolutely dominated in a game, and then the following week you come back and you're like, why couldn't we play that way last week? Like Kentucky fans have got to be waking up going, it stinks, but if we play like that the rest of the season, we're good. But why didn't we play like that against South Carolina for us to be 2-1?
That game against Kentucky versus Georgia confirmed what we've already been saying, Bill. It's not at least we ain't. It's we actually are. We are Kentucky. Kentucky is us. Because the way those fans came back after that drubbing that we gave them, there was really no business for that stadium to be packed and for them to be celebrating. But they were there, and the team almost got it done. And it was very much a Gamecock-like performance.
Jen, let's give that one more try. Can we get to Brian on the phone lines here real quick? Brian, how you doing this morning? What's on your mind?
Hey guys, I don't know if you remember Friday I called and I said if the team proved me wrong, I would call y'all back Monday. Well, I tell you what, we lost on paper, but we beat LSU. I think LSU fans are saying we beat LSU. And let me tell you what, continuity, physicality, and personality, that team, I was shocked. I even put on my Facebook during the game, Fire Ant defense. It reminded me of 84, the way they fly around. Guys, don't get down on this team. I'm one that's always like, I don't know, I don't see it. I saw it. And if this coaching staff can continue to do that each week and we get better and we don't let this game haunt us, we can win every game on our schedule. Every game. Remember, we didn't have our starting quarterback the whole second half, and we limped through the second half. And we had penalties, penalties, but those players put themselves in those positions. All those plays, they were nowhere near the play that was going on, and they created a penalty. They shouldn't have been there. We got to play smarter. But this team, they are for real. They are for real. They're playing together. And like Booger said, our defensive line might be the best in the country. So, guys, hold in there, pack that stadium, and give this team the support they need. Guys, I'll talk to you later.
Take care, Brian. Thank you for the phone
Good call.
there.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, we'll focus again. We'll stay on this game tomorrow. We'll go all 3 hours tomorrow on the LSU game. Looking back, Randy asks about the blocked punt. We'll get back into that in terms of Brian Kelly saying they're sending that in.
Oh, I have takes.
Okay, yeah, we'll get.
I played that middle bear position, and not fun.
We'll get into that a little bit tomorrow, kind of move forward, and then Wednesday get into Akron. John Strickland hoping to join us on Wednesday morning. Coach Tony Annan will join us Friday morning at 7:30 to talk about his club. They've got a monster match. I don't know what your schedule is for Friday night, high school football and everything. South Carolina has a monster Sunbelt match with Marshall. We'll talk about that. His team comes rolling in. Marshall will come rolling in. So we'll have Tony Annan with us. Plenty of other guests throughout the week, Preston, as we'll start a rivalry with Akron for 1 week.
We got to figure it out. We got to do some research, but we'll find a way.
We've got a good start. They broke one of our players' legs years ago.
And he's from Somerville, so can't do that.
We'll get into all of it. Y'all have a great rest of the day.
Preston here. Let me tell you about our friends at QC Kinetics. Did you know that you can use your body's own healing properties to revitalize your achy joints and get you real lasting pain relief? Well, I'm talking about advanced regenerative medicine at QC Kinetics. And if you're tired of arthritic pain in your knees, hips, backs, or shoulders, there's something you need to check out. You can enhance your joints, improve mobility, and get back to doing the stuff you love without pain, drugs, surgery, or downtime. They've got tens of thousands of satisfied patients, and the consultation for them is totally free. So give the folks at QC Kinetics a call to get yourself ready. Remember, they're talking about regenerative medicine, and the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics are experts. So give them a call at 803-281-6860. That's 803-281-6860. Again, 803-281-6860.